To be conventional or unconventional? That is the question. Or is it? Dorothy Parker wrote, "In youth, it was a way I had to do my best to please and change with every passing lad to suit his theories. But now I know the things I know and do the things I do. And if you do not like me so, to hell, my love, with you." Is she seeking to be unconventional when she says, "To hell, my love, with you"? What is her message? Am I unconventional by being a man in early childhood education? It's clear that being a man working with young children isn't the norm in this world. In 2016, the US Bureau of Labor Statistics found that only 2.5% of preschool and kindergarten teachers were men. And when I was studying early childhood education at university, I was only one of a handful of men in the entire school. And all throughout my career, I have often been the only man working in the early childhood sections of my schools. However, as I didn't choose this path in order to be unconventional, this got me thinking, what does it really mean to be conventional or unconventional? And should we seek either? Or is there perhaps another way? If you'd indulge me for a moment, I'd like to share a short story with all of you, perhaps what you might call an abridged version of my life. Through this small window, I hope to make clear that both conventional and unconventional forces are but two sides of the same coin and should not be what motivates our choices. I can still vividly remember as a child this seesaw of emotions of both wanting to conform to my parents' expectations, seeking their affection and approval, and thus being conventional, at least by their standards, and at the same time actively rebelling against their expectations, demanding my separateness, and as such, seeking to be unconventional. I remember how everything I did in school was tied up with either seeking my parents' approval or rebelling against them. In a way, I was like a yo-yo, swinging back and forth between being conventional or unconventional, compelled by forces I had no conscious control over. As a teenager, I purposefully and frequently made choices my parents did not approve of. I will not go into all the details, but I grew my hair super long, I know, hard to believe, had friends my parents found questionable, and would frequently break the rules my parents had set for me and our home. As wild as many of my choices may have been at the time, as unconventional as they may have seemed, I was still trapped in the pendulum of forces outside myself, forces I didn't truly understand and thus had no real control over. So what then is the difference if the pendulum swings right or left? If it pulls me to the conventional or sends me to the unconventional? When I discover who I am, I'll be free, Ralph Ellison wrote in The Invisible Man. Free from this pendulum, perhaps? free from the forces that would have us be conventional or unconventional? What is this freedom he speaks of? Let me go back again and share a profound shift that took place in my life and sent me down a road that has led me to be right here, right now, with all of you. While I can't tell you exactly what the trigger was, at one moment when I was in 11th grade in high school, I had a life-changing realization. A truth revealed itself to me that was deeply painful and sent me reeling. For some odd reason, I began to understand what friendship really meant. And as I looked around me at all my efforts to be cool, to be in with this group or that, it suddenly dawned on me that none of the people I socialized with were true friends. I was struck by this clear picture that on one hand, I was pushing against my parents and their efforts to try for me to conform to their expectations. And at the same time, on the other hand, I was trying just as hard to conform to some hidden norms of coolness or differentness among a group of my peers. But then came the truly mind-blowing question. Who am I? Who am I inside, really? If I give up trying to conform to some notion of coolness or differentness among my peers, as well as fighting against or conforming with the expectations of my parents, who is the me that may rise to the surface? It was as if I did not really know myself. This was the true beginning of the journey I am on today, the adventure that has led me to be here with all of you. As I said, this was a very painful realization. It hurt so much because it became clear that if none of these peers I socialized with were my true friends, then I had no friends. It was a deeply lonely moment. And being so alone, who could I turn to talk with? And believe me, I needed to talk with someone. I couldn't turn to my parents because they were mixed up in all these swirling emotions. So I actually chose to see a therapist I had come to know and trust from earlier in my life. I dove in head first and began peeling back layer after layer to try to find me. And with each small truth that was slowly and painstakingly revealed, I began to feel like I was meeting myself for the very first time. I was loving this search for honesty, digging deeply within myself to discover truth after tiny self-truth. It was astonishing and invigorating, and it fueled a fire deep within me. It was then that I chose to dedicate my entire life to growth and learning, to understanding myself and the world around me. It was also in that moment that I broke free from this pendulum, that my choices were no longer tied to forces outside myself, whether conventional or unconventional. It felt truly liberating. This discovery, the search for me, and the wish to grow and learn is what led me to my work with young children. That's why I always tell people that I became a teacher because I love to learn. I find in these small human beings a refreshing honesty, a purity of spirit, an openness and wonder. And through them, through their eyes, I see better myself. They challenge me every single day to find that honesty and wonder within myself and not get lost in all the swirling confusion of untruths that fill our world and so often cause us to become like rudderless boats in stormy waters. So what then is the moral of my story? Living life well is not about seeking to be conventional or unconventional. It's not about conforming with or rebelling against societal or parental expectations. These are but two sides of the same coin. And if you live your life by these standards, if you define yourself by these rules, then you are at the mercy of forces outside yourself, and you become like a rudderless boat in stormy waters, blowing wherever the conventional or unconventional winds may take you. The greatest explorer on this earth never takes voyages as long as those of the man who descends to the depths of his heart, wrote Julian Green. So you must take the scary leap out of your boats and dive into the deep, dark, murky waters of yourselves. You must descend to the depths of your heart and find your own gifts, your own dreams, and gather the courage to stand up tall and follow your path and yours alone. No matter the conventional or unconventional forces that may seek to steer you in a different direction. Nobody can know what is right for you but you. Nobody. The challenge is finding you, but again, only you can do that. So I challenge each and every one of you, especially the young among us, to go out in search of yourselves. Do not seek to be conventional or unconventional. Be you. Follow your hearts, find your wings, and soar. Thank you.